on March 15, 2024, in the quiet and tight-knit Red Lake Nation community in northern Minnesota. The morning began like any other, children playing, meals being prepared, and routines unfolding in and around the modest home of 37-year-old Jennifer Marie Stately. By midday, the atmosphere had irrevocably changed, becoming the backdrop to one of the most horrific acts of domestic violence and arson Minnesota had seen in decades. That afternoon, alone with her 3 young children, 6-year-old Remy, 5-year-old Tristan, and a 3-year-old sibling, Stately attacked her older sons inside the home, according to evidence presented at trial and detailed in court records. Stately stabbed Remy to death with a knife, causing catastrophic internal injuries, and inflicted wounds on Tristan before her actions escalated in a shocking sequence of violence. As Remy lay fatally wounded, Stately allegedly used gasoline and lighter fluid to ignite multiple separate fires throughout the residence, including at both of the home's exits, effectively blocking any paths of escape and turning the structure into a death trap. Investigators later determined that the fires, once ignited, spread quickly, filling the home with smoke and trapping Tristan, who succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning within moments. In the chaos that followed, Stately fled with her youngest child. By early that evening, law enforcement had issued a statewide Amber Alert, urging anyone who saw her vehicle to contact authorities, a rare but urgent measure that mobilized agencies across counties. Less than an hour later, near Todd County, a vigilant motorist spotted the suspect driving with the 3-year-old, who displayed visible signs of neglect and injury, prompting further law enforcement responses that led to her arrest and the child's rescue. The discovery of smoke-damaged rooms, burn patterns indicating deliberate fire placement, and the tragic scene of 2 young lives lost inside their own homes sent shockwaves through Red Lake Nation and beyond, as crime scene investigators from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, and Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension worked in concert with tribal and federal partners. Meticulous documentation captured evidence of gas cans, lighter fluid residues, and burn lines at exit points, all signs of calculated intent rather than accident. For residents, the immediate aftermath was disbelief mixed with horror. Neighbors who once waved hello now grappled with the knowledge that 2 innocent boys had perished in a home they thought of as safe. Tribal leaders and law enforcement officials released measured statements, emphasizing their grief and solidarity with the victim's family, while pledging that justice would be pursued relentlessly in federal court. As investigations continued through the night and into the coming days, law enforcement combed through digital records, interviewed neighbors and relatives, and reconstructed Stately's movements prior to the attack. Community members recalled seeing Stately with her children earlier that day, unaware that within hours, tragedy would unravel. Forensic teams cataloged every burned shard of material, correlated smoke inhalation patterns with the timeline of fire spread, and static analysis of gasoline residues linked the accelerants used to ignite the deadly blazes. Public reaction evolved from shock to a determined quest for answers. How could a mother commit such an unfathomable act? What signs, if any, were missed? Was there any warning? These questions drove media coverage and intensified scrutiny around both the incident and the broader issues of mental health, child welfare, and community safety in rural areas. Experts in forensic fire investigation explained that fires set with accelerants burn hotter and faster, leaving distinct patterns that can tell trained investigators where they started and how they spread. Meanwhile, analysis of Tracy's injuries made it clear that the lethal force used against Remy occurred prior to the fire, dispelling early speculation that smoke inhalation alone had caused both deaths. By late spring 2024, state and federal agency briefs had begun to circulate in legal and news circles, piecing together a timeline that would form the backbone of an eventual prosecution. What remained constant through all reporting was the tragic reality. 2 young lives had been extinguished inside their own home in a fire that was not accidental, and the first responders who walked through burned hallways were forever changed by the sight. As the investigation transitioned to prosecution, the weight of evidence collected from the crime scene burn patterns, accelerant residues, exit blockage points, digital timelines, and witness deposits became the foundation for a federal case against Jennifer Marie Stately. The United States Attorney's Office for the District of Minnesota formally charged Stately with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder, 2 counts of murder in the course of child abuse, 1 count of murder in the course of arson, and 1 count of arson, citing the meticulously documented sequence of violence and deliberate actions taken against her 2 young sons in early 2026. After a 2.5-week trial before the Honorable Judge John R. Tunheim in Minneapolis, the federal jury heard hours of testimony from crime scene investigators, forensic experts, tribal law enforcement, and medical examiners. Prosecutors presented a narrative that painted a harrowing picture. Evidence showed that Stately had initiated the knife attack on her older child, then used forces designed to trap the younger son by setting 3 separate fires strategically positioned to block exit points. Forensic fires specialists detailed how the accelerants were placed, how the fires behaved, and how smoke inhalation likely trapped the younger boy, evidence that prosecutors argued contradicted any claim of accident or temporary insanity. Medical examiners testified about wound patterns, cause of death, and carbon monoxide poisoning dynamics, each point dovetailing into a cohesive theory of calculated murder, followed by arson intended to cover up the crime and prevent escape. The defense pursued an insanity plea, suggesting that the defendant may have genuinely believed the home was demonic, and that mental illness impaired her ability to distinguish right from wrong. Witnesses called by defense attorneys attempted to establish a background of psychological distress, aiming to humanize Stately and frame her actions within a context of mental health struggles. Yet the prosecution countered decisively, calling upon psychological experts who highlighted the calculated nature of the planning, the use of accelerants, and the strategic placement of fires, all decisions inconsistent with impaired cognition or dissociation at the moment of the crime. After days of deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict. Stately was found guilty on all 6 counts, rejecting the insanity defense and affirming that the murders and arson were premeditated and intentional. The courtroom exhaled as the verdict was read. Family members wept, observers reflected on the tragedy, and tribal elders nodded solemnly in recognition of justice served, even as sorrow lingered. Law enforcement leaders, including representatives from the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the FBI's Minneapolis field office, and the Red Lake Tribal Police Department, expressed their grief, emphasizing their commitment to the victims and their resilience in seeing this case through a difficult trial. Community impact extended far beyond the courtroom walls. On the Red Lake Nation Reservation, neighbors gathered at memorials for the slain boys, sharing stories of Remy's laughter and Tristan's protective nature. Social workers and tribal healers addressed the collective trauma, hosting vigils, grief counseling, and public forums about recognizing warning signs in families before tragedies escalate. The case also sparked broader conversations across Minnesota and national child welfare communities about how to improve early intervention, strengthen support for struggling families, and enhance cross-jurisdictional cooperation in sovereign tribal nations, where legal complexities can delay protective actions. Meanwhile, sentencing hearings, scheduled for a later date, including federal sentencing that could result in consecutive life terms, kept public attention fixed on how justice would be formalized in a way that balanced punishment with community healing. Legal analysts dissected trial strategy, noting how the integration of forensic fire science and child abuse evidence strengthened the prosecution's case. Child advocacy groups called for more resources to detect and prevent domestic violence that escalates to lethal outcomes, using Stately's case as a rallying point for policy discussion and funding initiatives. In the months following the trial, the community, deeply scarred but determined, continued to honor the memories of Tristan and Remy with annual events, scholarship funds, and outreach programs designed to help families in crisis. The tragedy became a somber lesson in the consequences of unchecked domestic turmoil, and a call to action for professionals and citizens alike to pay closer attention when a family's dynamics signal danger. As the nation watched the reverberations of the case unfold, one truth remained at the forefront. 2 young boys, vibrant and full of possibility, had lost their lives in their own home, a place that should have been safe, and through meticulous investigation, unwavering legal pursuit, and community resilience, their story was not forgotten. Subscribe Criminal Verse, where every crime hides a story.